If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. Looting is cool. Healthy at any weight? If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie.
The Democrats can't seem to catch a break, and Bill Maher says he knows the reason why. On a recent real-time segment, the sharp-tongued comedian went all in, breaking down exactly why the party keeps bleeding support nationwide. With the midterms around the corner and 2028 looming large, Maher sounded the alarm. The DNC could be staring down another disaster if it doesn't scrap its old playbook. He insists that clinging to the same tired strategies and talking points might be a political death sentence. So, as always, hit subscribe, strap in, and let's jump right into it.
Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does.
Bill doesn't waste a second tearing into what he sees as the Democrats' flawed game plan. For him, the problem goes beyond just messaging. It's about pushing ideas that feel disconnected from plain science and common sense. He argues that when leaders champion concepts voters see as ungrounded or ideologically extreme, they risk losing the crucial middle ground they need to win. Even more striking, he points out, is when respected public figures like Neil deGrasse Tyson, icons of scientific literacy, get pulled into debates that blur the line between hard evidence and political ideology. For everyday voters, this breeds confusion and undermines trust in experts. Maher's bigger point is crystal clear. When a party chases niche culture wars instead of addressing the issues that hit people's kitchens and wallets, it shouldn't be shocked when support drops and electoral momentum stalls.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it.
Maher takes it a step further, calling out the exact ideals and philosophies he believes are eroding the Democrats' wider appeal. He says many voters get uneasy when they see attempts to rethink long-standing scientific or historical truths. In his eyes, when political messaging focuses on redefining complex issues like gender or social identity in ways that feel sudden or unfamiliar, it breeds confusion instead of consensus. He zeroes in on youth gender debates, too. From parental involvement to consent and medical decisions, flashpoints that have ignited the culture war. For Maher, these aren't just fringe conversations. They've entered the political mainstream and shape how the public sees the party. His warning: leaning hard into these divisive cultural battles risks driving moderate voters away, even those who might otherwise align with Democrats on economics or governance, sapping their electoral momentum.
Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. This is in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it.
Maher wraps it up with a blunt challenge. Democrats need to rethink their game, ditch the rigid ideological lens, and reopen the floor to real debate. He insists political power isn't about demanding agreement. It's about letting ideas clash, be tested, and be defended in plain sight. Right now, he says, the party comes off as intolerant of dissent, signaling that only certain opinions are welcome while others get shut down or slapped with labels. That creates an echo chamber that may fire up the base but drives independents and undecideds away. Mars's prescription rebuilds trust and momentum by facing critics head-on, not dodging them. For him, the future isn't about silence or playing it safe. It's about transparency, honest disagreement, and tackling tough conversations with courage and clarity.
That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say math is racist, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say.
The left's rhetoric has gotten so intense that even long-time the liberals like Maher are speaking out. What worries him most is the sense that some viewpoints aren't up for discussion anymore. They're just positions you have to accept blindly. He argues that when disagreement is treated as moral failure instead of a chance for dialogue, it kills the open exchange democracy relies on. Critics say this creates a culture where people fear public shaming or social exile for simply thinking differently rather than sparking thoughtful conversation. It pushes everyone toward conformity. Mars's gripe is clear. Lasting support comes from persuasion, not pressure. When debate disappears and only one narrative rules, voters feel excluded instead of represented. And that feeling can have serious consequences come election day. 5.
Democrats today have gone out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. The problem is they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of grocery, gas,
Now you see why Stephen A. Smith was in the polls as a presidential candidate? See what I'm talking about? You see that idiocy right there? You talk about something, people being tone deaf.
Stephen A. Smith has called out what he sees as another misstep by Democrats, the habit of painting everything Trump does in the darkest light. He warns that this non-stop outrage risks losing its punch, especially when voters start seeing it as predictable rather than convincing. Smith notes that Democrats were already demonizing Trump long before he even reached the White House. And it didn't stop him from winning. What baffles him is that despite that lesson, many keep doubling down on the same playbook. Instead of presenting a bold, inspiring alternative, the focus keeps circling back to attacking Trump's every move. Smith's point is sharp. Voters aren't just craving criticism.
Hell, with 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people. All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you did. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, slamming what he sees as hypocrisy at the top of the DNC. To him, too much of their public response feels staged, carefully choreographed moments meant to grab headlines instead of delivering real results. He points out that Americans are grappling with pressing issues like inflation, job insecurity, and the skyrocketing cost of living. That gap, he argues, fuels frustration and eats away at trust. His prescription is simple. Stop the political theater. Reconnect with voters on real issues and prove authenticity through action, not just polished public performances.
Chuck Schumer and the typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, look, they don't care about this. Well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Why would you bother folks with transgender and all this? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. They're pieces. They don't give about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the middle finger anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Fuck them. They ain't worth
Stephen A. Smith draws a sharp line between Trump's political style and the DNC's leadership approach. He says Trump's strength is his bluntness. He spots problems, speaks plainly, and promises quick action. Qualities that click with voters who crave decisiveness. Agree with his policies or not, Smith argues Trump radiates clarity and intent, making supporters feel he means exactly what he says. By contrast, he criticizes the DNC for messaging that feels calculated and overly managed, creating doubt among voters about whether leaders are being fully honest. For Smith, authenticity is political gold. Voters are drawn to leaders who come across as straightforward, while anything that seems staged or vague chips away at trust and credibility over time.
And do you know what his followers say? Yeah! Yeah! That's how we want you talking to those politicians who's been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol Hill.
Stephen A. Smith says Bill Maher gets something most politicians miss. Americans are fed up with the political class. MR channels that frustration by calling out leaders, institutions, and decisions he thinks deserve scrutiny, often with blunt, unapologetic language, especially in a climate of widespread distrust. The takeaway is that straight-up authenticity and fearless engagement grab attention and can restore credibility with disillusioned audiences.
Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the Black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters?
Put together, the warnings from Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith spell trouble for the DNC. Coming from different corners, they're sounding the same alarm. The party is out of touch. Voters want honesty, clarity, and real solutions, not ideological rigidity, staged theatrics, or endless outrage. Meanwhile, Trump's poll, in their eyes, comes from projecting decisiveness and authenticity. Love him or hate him, the lesson is urgent. Keep ignoring dissent, dodging debate, and leaning on performative politics, and Democrats will keep losing ground with everyday Americans. Voters notice the difference between conviction and calculation. For MR and Smith, the fix is simple. Listen, engage openly, and rebuild trust before frustration hardens into long-term political rejection. That's it for today's video. If you liked it, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next.